We left the island of Sulawesi for the island of Java and flew into the city of Yogyakarta on recommendations from Phil and Paula to visit the temples there, and also that the city is home to batik. Batik is an ancient art medium that uses wax to give relief to dyed cloth. It dates back to the 4th century and can be found in cultures all over the world. But the art of batik is most highly developed on the island of Java, with Yogyakarta home to art schools that still teach the traditional methods. At the end of our first day in Yogyakarta, we found ourselves here, wandering down Jalan Malioboro, heading for the Sultan's Palace. This is the main street in Jogja and is super busy, with shops and restaurants and markets. It's very touristy. There were plenty of Indonesians here, eating and working, but also a lot of white tourists, and we no longer stuck out in the crowd. This map's a little simplified, but I think we were somewhere around here, looking around a market. And as we were leaving, a guy approached us and started to talk to us. Obviously my guard is up. I know he's going to try and sell us something, so we carried on walking, and he kind of walked with us. And he was just talking about Indonesia and why we visited, and about the England football team and how great we did in the World Cup. And it was just a friendly conversation. And then he asked us whether we'd been to the art school yet. We said we hadn't visited yet, but we were here for the week so that we would. To which he said, no, you should go now, as it's only open 2 days a week every fortnight, and it was closing in an hour, and that if we didn't go now, we would miss our opportunity to go. Now, of course, this sounded a bit off to us. We did know there was an art school that we should go and visit at some point, but the fact he had approached us and had started this whole thing, we ignored his directions, and we just carried on down the road heading towards the palace. We got a good 200 meters down the road, away from the market, and it's still super busy outside, when a guy selling trinkets shouted out to us, trying to sell us stuff, and we were like, no, thank you. Then he asked, have you been to the art school? We said, no, we're just heading down to the palace because it was our first day and we just wanted to have a look around. To which he got agitated and almost aggressive towards us, and saying that we must go. He was a very small, old man, so at no point did I feel threatened in any way. But I was quite taken back at the passion in which he wanted us to go and visit this art school. He was angrily saying, why haven't we been yet? Why have you not gone? If you go now, it's only open today. Why have you not gone and seen the students' work? Almost angry at us that we'd not been, considering it's our first bloody night in the place. We were a bit like, all right, we'll go. In my mind, there was no coordination between the two guys. It was so busy. With tourists, I couldn't see how they were picking on us, personally. But also, having been told by Phil and Paula that there is an art school to go and visit, I thought maybe these local guys really are just proud of the tradition and don't want the tourists to miss out. Every Indonesian we've met so far had been nothing but helpful and honest. So we headed off to the art school. We had to head back up the road a bit, and the art school was kind of in this block here. We were bumbling down here and missed the turning, to which the guy had noticed and came after us on a moped and told us the way. And it was getting a bit strange. I mean, he was still very friendly and happy and just pointed us in the right way, but the fact that he spotted us, it was all getting a bit weird. But we made it to this corner and we saw the sign saying batik, and we headed for the shop. It was a large shop with artworks hanging all over the walls, of all shapes and sizes. They weren't different shapes though, because they were all rectangular. Artworks of all sizes and shapes. They're not different shapes, they're all squares. Artworks of all sizes and styles, but all clearly with the wax relief method. Some more traditional, and some modern and abstract. There was an Indonesian guy in the back, and I could hear 2 Spanish guys in another room looking around. No one approached us at all, and we were able to just freely look around, which was a nice change to most Indonesian shopping experiences. As we were looking around at the artworks, I actually heard the Indonesian guy talking to the Spanish guys about how he never pressures anyone into buying the artwork, and that it's all student work with profits from this shop going back to the art school. Also, with it just being cloth, take it out of the frame, you can wrap it up, you can wash it. It's very easy for travellers to take with them. We had a good look around and a few pieces did catch our eye. So we eventually asked the guy, how much do these things cost? He gave us a sheet of paper that looked like this. Each artwork was labelled with a price corresponding, starting from very cheap all the way up to this is like a couple of £100 really. The man kind of explained what he'd said to the Spanish guys, but also said he was a tutor at the school and that the shop was indeed only open 2 days a week, being yesterday and today, which of course was a bit of a red flag to us, but we didn't really know what to think at this point. He'd been so passive regarding sales, and the place really did have a student-run feel to it. So after checking the prices of the ones that we liked, I was sold. It's pretty simple and small, and it's not as creative as maybe some of the modern ones are, but the colours and the scene sum up the experience of Indonesia for me pretty well. And with it only being like £10, I was pretty happy with it as a nice souvenir. Ours, on the other hand, was quite a bit larger. Still lovely, and with it only being £40, it's not crazy money with regards to the whole trip that we're on. There were actually 2 smaller works that matched this one as well, both of them around £15, and we were so tempted to buy them all as a set. I even remember saying to Al, are we going to regret not buying these extra pieces because this is the only opportunity we have? But Al just got the one big one. You know, in the back of our minds it was still kind of, God knows if this is a scam or not. Worst case, we've spent £50 on some nice souvenirs. We got back to the hotel and we were happy with our purchases, but we were still very skeptical about the whole thing. It just seemed like one big scam. You know, was it great reverse psychology from the salesman, knowing that we would buy anyway because of the deadline and the charity with the school? I had a little look online and other people have had the same experience, but they don't necessarily feel scammed, and by no means was there any big warnings saying don't do it, don't be fooled. And at the end of the day, we're happy with our purchases, scam or not. So 2 things happened in the following week regarding this. Firstly, 2 days later, when we finally did get down to the Sultan's Palace, as we were at the gates taking photos, a guy asked us if we had been to the art school. And proceeded to talk about how it was only open today and we should go. To which we just replied, yes, actually we have been. And you know, he was a bit taken back and was like, yeah, okay, but which one? Have you been to this one? But we had already started walking away and said, no thank you. Here we go again. The second thing. This happened whilst we were visiting the water castle with an underground mosque. We had asked a local man where we can buy tickets, and he showed us, and then he started giving us the tour of the water palace. And he was a pretty old, eccentric guy. And as we were heading towards the mosque, he told us that he and his son were both batik artists, and that we were going to go past his house anyway and we should have a look. In the building just off the side of the street, there were large batik works, very similar. In fact, all similar to the ones that we had seen in the art school. Thankfully, we did not see our works there, and I don't think I saw any of the artworks in our style at all. But with all the different styles on display, and with all those same styles being displayed in the art school, I found it very hard to believe that this guy had produced all of them, if any of them. So of course, I think it is a scam. And I think this is probably the worst case. The artwork is not made by students. The money does not go to the art school. The people on the street get a cut of sales for sending tourists here. I imagine that there are a few shops in the area doing this, and I also assume that the shops don't close, and this is just a way to drive sales. We never checked this, as we were too busy, but it would be interesting to know. I have no idea to tell how this was actually made. I have no idea if this is traditional batik method or just a screen print of some sort. But on the back here, I mean, this does look like wax relief to me, so who knows? So sure, it's probably a scam. But at the end of the day, we've got a nice souvenir and another story to tell from our travels.